Good morning, guys. So I'm here to talk to you about the job application process, interviewing, that kind of stuff. A lot of what I have will just be some quick tips for things that you should not do when you're going through this process. I'm going to go over the resume a little bit quickly. I know you've already been over it and you've written your resumes, but I've just got some tips. I've taken a lot of classes. I've done a lot of this stuff. It's my job. So, as far as resumes go, your cover letter is your chance to sell yourself on paper. So it's like an advertisement for you. So really talk up your strengths, and it should be tailored for the job you're applying for. Whatever you're putting your resume in for, that's what your cover letter and your resume should reflect that. It should reflect the skills that you have that go towards that job. And it should never be just a blanket resume. This is my resume all the time. I'm going to hand it to every single person that I give out resumes to. It should be different. So here's one thing that I do and have done in the past because, well, I'm a military spouse, so we lived everywhere and I had a lot of jobs. I can't remember what I did 20 years ago in Rapid City. So I have a working document in my computer, and it lists every job I've ever had, every skill, and everything that I did at those jobs, so that I can pick and choose from those jobs what skills to put into my resume. So I have this document over here and a blank document here, and I take the skills I have from over here and I insert them in my resume for that job. It just makes it so much easier. And then you can tailor it way easier for each job that you're applying for. So that's a little tip about resumes. It just helps a lot as a person who has applied and interviewed and who is now in charge of interviewing and looking at applications and resumes. So now we're going to move on to the application process itself. When you are going into an office to pick up an application, that person that you see at the desk that gives you the application, they will be asked what their impression was of you. So it is vitally important. Even though you think, oh, I'm just picking up an application, it's no big deal, I can go in my sweatpants or my fuzzy pajama bottoms. That's not a good idea. Don't do that. You need to dress nicely. I mean, I'm not talking suit tie or skirt and a nice sweater. Just have a nice pair of pants and a nice shirt on. Because when you go in, that person is sizing you up. Whether they're the person that's going to interview you or not, they are most likely going to be asked about you. Same way when you turn in your application. You're going to want to be dressed nicely for the job that you're applying for. So if you're applying at McDonald's, you are going to want to wear a nice pair of maybe khakis and a polo shirt. If you're applying to be a human resources specialist at, let's say, Rosenboom or Pure Fishing, you're going to want to dress it up a little bit. Button-down shirt, maybe a tie, nice slacks, tie if you're a guy, or, nice sweater if you're a girl, nice shirt. So you're always dressing and tailoring everything to the job that you are expecting to get. Also, be nice to that person who either gives you an application or takes your application from you. Because again, they're going to be asked what their impressions are of you. If you're rude, if you are not prepared or seem flighty, they're going to tell that to the person who is going to be interviewing you. In our office, there are two people, so most of the time, both of us are going to see anybody that brings me an application. But if I happen to be on lunch, or I happen to be off doing something like this, and somebody brings an application, I'm going to ask Deb, well, what were they like? Were they dressed well? Because I have a little sheet that I fill out for every person. And there's a little section at the bottom where we list just how we felt about them. Were they dressed nice? Did they have good communication skills? All that kind of stuff. First impressions are your best friend in this process. Another really great first impression is the way you shake hands when you come into a room. We'll use this example. This is a handshake. Firm pressure, palm open. That's not a handshake. I feel like you're going to kiss my hand. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Shake my hand like this. We are not in medieval English. That that makes a really good impression. Give a little bit of pressure, but you're not crushing their hand. This is not something where I'm going to fight you into submission and you're going to give me this job. You're just going to give a little bit of pressure. Just show them that you're confident. That's another thing I want to talk about. Confidence is great. Do not go in there and be arrogant. There is a fine line between being really confident and just being arrogant. Because my impression of you when you come in and you're all arrogant and I deserve this job and you're going to give it to me because I just said so, no. You're going to go on the bottom of the pile and you're the least likely person I'm going to interview because that is not the impression that I want you to be giving to my clients. Arrogance is never good. If you are confident and I have all these skills and I know I'm a great person and I know that I am valuable and that I could be a valuable employee to you, I'm going to look at that a lot differently than if you come in with a little attitude and I'm so great, you're just going to give me this job because I said so. Besides that, I'm just stubborn enough that that's just not going to happen. Some things about interviewing. Now, I know that she emailed you them. Okay. She's going to be emailing you some things that I brought for her. There's an application. A lot of times, I have two different. One is blank, one is filled out. Just kind of an example of what we expect to see when you're asked what your duties were. You don't have to go into minute details, but just a very brief overview of what you did. Your space is little, so I did this. I operated a CNC machine, or I was in charge of payroll and billing for this business. So just a little bit, because that gives me something to play off of. That gives me an interview question to ask you. So I can go through and ask you about all your skills. I can ask you about all your training that you've had in that job based on the things that are listed on your application. You need to be as truthful as possible without making yourself look bad. Because we'll get into that in the interview too. If I look at your application and we list 6 spaces for where you've worked, that I would hope you would not have more than 6 jobs in 10 years, because that looks bad. But don't leave things off either. If I have gaps, then I wonder what the heck is wrong with you, why you couldn't find a job. But when you list the reason you left that place, if you got fired, put that you got fired. Because I know people think that we don't check references, but I check every single reference that's on here. I call every single personal reference. Some places do not. I do, because I weed out a lot of people. They may look really good on paper, and then I start calling their former employees, and they're like, yeah, I had an attendance problem, or, all I'm going to give you is dates and duties because that's all I feel comfortable giving about him. That tells me something. If he's only giving me dates and duties of employment, I know that there's something there. And then the next guy tells me, yeah, I had an attendance problem, and he just didn't show up every Monday, and all that stuff. That's a big red flag for me, and I'm going to put you at the bottom of the pile or in our scan file, which means I looked at it and it went in there because you're not worth our time. So that's another thing. So be honest, but don't make yourself look bad. If you have said twice that you got fired and you go in and you get asked about that in an interview, be honest about it, but do not complain about your previous employer. Just don't do it. That looks bad too, because now I look like, oh, well, they have sour grapes, so if I hire them and it doesn't work out and you end up getting fired, what are you going to go out into the public and say about us and about what it's like to work in our business? We may be a great place to work. You might be difficult and have not liked it, and so now you're going to go complain. That's the impression I get from that. But honesty is always better than not being honest, and I'll use this as an example. I had a lady come into my office the other day, and there's a box on her application that asks if you have any felonies. She said no. I went on Iowa Courts Online. Anybody can do it. I looked her up, matched up the birth date. Oh, okay. She doesn't just have 1 felony. She had 7. 10 years ago. So she hasn't reoffended. I checked Minnesota, I checked South Dakota. Those are 2 places that she had also lived. She had nothing there. She's not reoffended. Had she been honest with me, I might have worked with her. But because she wasn't, she went right in that scan file. So be honest on your application because we will check it. And another thing, more and more, we personally do not do it because I don't think it's right. But more and more employers are checking your personal Facebook pages. So if you are in the job hunt, I would keep that pretty clean. And I would clean it up and get anything off of it that you can get off of it that is not PG. I would just get it out of there. That is the impression that you are giving to a prospective employer. I'm going to go on your Facebook page and I'm going to see half-naked pictures and a lot of cussing and the government is horrible and rants and stuff like that. I'm going to think, well, this is maybe a little bit of instability in this person and I'm perhaps not going to put them into a workplace. Just because I don't know if you're going to get along with your coworkers based on everything on your Facebook page. If I go on your Facebook page and everything is kosher and you're just kind of posting little bits and pieces and pictures of your life, that's a good impression. But when you're on there yelling about Misty over there or John over there who did something wrong to you, that's just, no. Keep it PG and keep it, and if necessary, you could have 2 Facebook pages. I mean, that can happen and I know people who do it. One that is, with your actual name. I mean, I'm not telling you to do this, but if you're in the job hunt and you feel that it's necessary to post not so great things on Facebook, keep those somewhere other than the page that they're going to look under your name because employers are looking at that. And some will go so far as to use photo recognition. So just know that that happens and that that's out there and that you are going to be looked at through a microscope for some firms in particular, particularly if you're doing something that is going to be in the public eye. Also, as far as, finding personal references to list on your job application. You are going to want to list teachers, past supervisors, people that you have worked with. I don't want to know what your best friend has to say about you because your best friend's best interest is being nice to you and giving you a good job reference. I want to know what your past employer is going to say about you. Somebody that is outside the HR department. Because when I call Rosenboom or Pure Fishing, I'm going to talk to Jody or Craig and they're going to look in your employment file, but they don't necessarily know you as a person. They didn't work on the line with you. They didn't see how good you are at getting stuff done. They just thought, oh, they had good attendance and they got an attendance award for being there every day for 2 years in a row or something. That's all they see. They're not going to see the fact that they might see, like, oh, he had 6 work comp injuries, so maybe he's not the most careful person in the plant. That's all they see. They're not going to see how you were on the line. Were you the first person to step up and volunteer to do something, or did you hang back until somebody else volunteered to do something? So that's what I want to see. I want to know from a supervisor or somebody or a teacher, because teachers know how you work. They understand who gets their assignments in on time, who's in school all the time, who's a good kid. Past supervisors are going to know how you do really well on the job. All that stuff. Okay, so let's move on to the interview. When you go to an interview, you are going to want to dress for the job you're expecting to get. Just like when you go in to pick up an application. I know it seems silly, you're just going to pick up an application, I don't want to dress up, I'm just going to go in jeans and a ratty t-shirt. No. First impressions. The person who's interviewing you, this may be the first time they've ever actually seen you in person, so you need to dress for the job that you're going for. Now, if you're going to go work at Pure Fishing and they're interviewing you, maybe you just, maybe a nice pair of jeans and a nice button-down shirt is fine, or a nice polo shirt is fine. If you're going for a secretarial or a clerical position, you're going to want to dress nice sweater work pants, nice shoes. Make sure you're clean. Make sure you. Well, I would hope that none of you in here are smokers because you're way too young. However, when you're an adult, if you're around somebody who smokes or something like that, make sure that you don't smell like that when you go in for an interview. Make sure your clothes are clean. You would not believe the things I see in my office. People come in their pajamas. They know they're having a job interview that day, and I'm like, really didn't want to see your Winnie the Pooh fuzzy pajamas. That's not what I want to see from you. I want to see somebody who looks like they really want to do the job, not somebody who's there because I feel like I need a paycheck. Another thing for interviewing, always answer the questions completely and honest, but don't babble. So you need to, I sent in that packet, there will be some example questions. Practice what kind of answers you would give to those. Practice a little sales pitch for yourself. Because chances are I'm going to ask you, what are the things that are in your character that are going to make you want, that would make me want to hire you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? So have answers for those. Oh, my weakness is sometimes I procrastinate, which is my weakness. I procrastinate. But my strength is that I work really good under pressure. So I procrastinate in part because I work better if I have a deadline and the deadline is like tomorrow. Because I get it done, I think clearer. If I know I have 2 weeks to do it, I'm like, well, maybe I'll write a little bit today. You know, that's my personal. So that might be something that I would say in a job interview. Just that, yes, my weakness is I procrastinate sometimes. But that goes right along with one of my strengths, which is that I work really well under pressure. So give me a deadline and something to do, and I'll have it done really quick. But if the deadline is way off in the future, I just don't feel really inclined to get it done right away. That's just me, but I work better under pressure. Always look the interviewer in the eye. Don't be answering questions like this and not looking me in the eye. Look me right in the eye. Don't look off in space or out the window, or because that tells me your attention really isn't on me. Even if it truly is on me, I need that eye contact because it just lets me know that you're being truthful. It's hard to look somebody in the eye when you're lying to them. So you need to look the interviewer in the eye. Another thing, and this is probably the last thing that I have, after an interview, make sure you follow up with a thank you note. That does a couple of things for you. If I interview somebody for a specific position, I may interview 15 people in one day, and towards the end of the day, there's 2 people I'm going to remember. The very first person I interviewed, and the last person that I interviewed. Maybe the last 2 people that I interviewed. So if you send out a thank you note, that puts, even if you were the very middle person that I interviewed that day, I'm going to remember you. Because I'm going to go, who was this? And then I might look at your application and I'll be like, oh, yeah, she was really good. I liked her. So that is going to bring my attention back to you, even though I might have interviewed 15 people that day. It's just a little trick, just to, and it's polite. Somebody gave you their time, so it's polite to give them a thank you. Are there any questions from anyone?
How early should you arrive to your interview?
Oh, I'm not a very good person to ask this. You should always be like 10 minutes late. Or 10 minutes late. 10 minutes early. 10 minutes early. We have this thing at our house because my husband was in the Air Force for 24 years. And the Air Force kind of policy or whatever is that if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. So I always think, I just want to get everywhere 20 minutes early. And it's like, these civilian people don't understand this. They're not ready for you yet. So, but 10 to 15 minutes early, even if you have to sit around and wait, it just gives a good impression.
What happens if they're too early? Let's say 20, 30 minutes early before the interview. I
Overeager.
Issues with that.
Yeah, I look at them as being overeager. Now you're clogging up my waiting area. And I may, in my particular instance, I don't have an office when I do an interview. It's right listening to them. So that's not necessarily a good thing either. 10 to 15 minutes, not a half an hour. It makes you look overeager, which is not always necessarily a good thing.
What should they bring with them to an interview?
Bring a copy of your resume. Potentially maybe a copy of the application as well, but a copy of your resume. And if you have any special certificates or anything like that that you didn't submit with your resume, bring those along too. Like if you went to, I'll just use this as an example. I went to a leadership conference in Garmisch, Germany one time when we were stationed in Germany, and I brought along my certificates from this leadership conference. I brought a lot, just stuff like that that make you look good. Like, look, I'm going for an HR position and I have all this leadership experience, and all this training. So those kind of things would be good to bring along.
You guys, the interviewers will have a copy of your cover letter and resume next Thursday, so you don't have to bring anything with you, but just know that, in a typical interview, you would bring the resume along with you.
Yeah. And a lot of times we may already have it, but here's an instance. A lot of times there may be more than one person interviewing you, and they may only have one copy of your resume. So if you brought along an extra copy, that at least gives somebody else something to look at and think of questions for you for. So bringing along an extra is always a good thing. Make sure you have the right resume for the job that you for that job, the one that you submitted for that job. But yeah. Anything else?
Are we gonna have the dream application or resume or the real? Both? Okay.
You'll have both, and your cover letter.
Oh, that was one thing I was going to mention. As a person who sees a lot of resumes, I don't have time to read a book. One page is plenty. If you can't fit it on one page, then that's probably be too detailed. One page is plenty. I mean, it can be single spaced, but I don't want. If it's 4 pages long, either you've had way too many jobs in the last 10 years, or especially if you're young, if you've got a really long resume, that is concerning because you're probably a job hopper, which never looks good. So stay in a job for at least a year before you move on. I want to see you guys stay. Anybody else have a question?